Are we here? Yes, we are. Hello, hello. Just gotta readjust things around here. Yeah. Hey, you guys. I've just been out fishing and stuff like that, so let's see if we catch anybody. See if they'll come over on our side. Just give us a little holler. I was trying to put some information out on the other channel about the spirit side of the Bible, answering questions that they are putting out there and answering them wrong, or well, depends on which side of the boat we're on as to who's wrong or who's right. But to put out really good information is what we do to try to fish from these other people's ponds. See if we can't get a couple of people snared to the spiritual side of the Bible, drag them off of the letter, but actually showing them that, hey, you were doing your job, so it's really cool. So being called, oh, that's Gnostic, and hey, you need to go and check this channel. I said, I don't need to go and check out some other channel about Gnostic. When I do, I go and find out that they're lying too, that they're Gnostic, that's not working. I said, this is what's working. I haven't found very many people to give the information that I show you and that good old Lord has given me to be able to see. All right, and it's just right there in front of us. As you can see, it's when you follow with me. It doesn't take. You don't have to be super smart to understand any of this, or to even hear it. You could say, "Wow, that's pretty interesting." That information is right on the surface. So, anyways, we're about to go into the text where Abraham is going to be taking his son. This is in our Bibles. What it is it's called the fear of God, because God has asked us to give Him our firstborn. That's the process of this, and that's what pisses him off the most, is because no one does this. No one goes and honors mom and dad. And so this little child never gets loosened to go and do its business. So it's never released and sent to God. And so in this situation, you've kept this thing captive, and that you're not connected to God because of it, and it pisses him off. It's the sins of the father, and it's the father you. It's because you don't know shit about this. You don't know nothing about God. You don't know nothing about yourself, and you've left yourself in the hands of the strange woman. So that's basically how it works in the long run. But then again, how this works, is that we have to climb this mountain, and we're going to get this. Well, we'll just keep on talking. He is told to bring his son to a certain place where he's going to sacrifice him, but he's not going to tell Isaac a thing about it. Now, his name means laughter, so he has to sacrifice this laughter, and laughter is this idea of the lower, it's emotions. We're going to have to, and the lower mind. So he's got to sacrifice this part of him, and so the knife comes into play as getting ready to separate. All right, which is what happens when we go into meditation. Do we separate from the outside part of us? Okay, so that's what's left down at the end, or at the beginning of his little travels, at the base of this mountain, is where he leaves his two buddies and the ass. That ass is the body itself. And he and his son take off on this trip. All right. So, and after 3 days and stuff like that, you can see how this is all working within this idea that there's going to be an intervention. And so, the three actually are walking up there, but what he has is he's got the kindling, he's got the wood, he's separated the wood, and he's put it on the back of Ishmael, and later on Ishmael, on Isaac. And then as they're walking up, Isaac says, hey, we got the wood, we got this. Where's the sacrifice? And of course, as he's getting ready to kill him, he gets the voice from God. Hey, don't bother, don't hit him. I got an idea. Hey. And over his shoulder, then he lifted up his eyes, and he saw a ram there in the thickets and stuff. So these tickets in business, when you think about that, this is the part that's going to be sacrificed instead of his son. So this becomes this, the meeting. This is God says, because I know your fear of me is great. You don't have to do this. There'll be one provided for you instead. So, but this idea is representing this killing of the self. All right, that God will Himself provide a sacrifice. That's what this God in reality becomes. You're the one providing the sacrifice. You're the one doing it. So that's telling the end of the story. That's how it works. All right, because there is no true killing of this thing. There's a separation between the two, between the man, the man and his firstborn. And remember, later on, God is going to kill all the firstborns in Egypt. And Egypt is everybody that has a lower mind. Not those people that come from everybody in the Egypt. It's gone because they've taken away the brother. They've taken away your messenger. That's like you've given yourself up to Baal. All right, you've sold your soul, so to speak. We gave it to God when they were both together. We told them, we'll just take off with Father and have a great time. So you'll see that, it was really our plan and God's will to be disconnected and be this unclean soul. And we read this earlier that we would make this vow, like this Nazarene, that we would not clean ourselves out, that we would continue to run around unclean until that day that we stood at that tent right there, at the entrance to the tabernacle, or to wherever it is, to wherever this place is, right? The tents. And that's when we're standing on the sixth chakra, getting ready to come in. Then they cut the hair off, and they get to drink some wine and all that business. And that's when you're cut and separated. This is it. All right. So as soon as he looked over his shoulder, there was something that he could chop up and give it to God as a blessing. All right. That's the burnt offering. So you always have that. That's the body, And so we have all of these stories talking about the same thing, and it's going over and over and over again with something different. Now, these are all in worlds, so you could go and figure this out on your own, or let's just give it a quick little glimpse. All right. I may have screwed something up. All right, so I just was pushing the wrong buttons. Hello. I would like to. There we go. We got somewhere. Listen, I hope I didn't screw all this up. I won't know until the end. Now, 22. 22 is a 4. 4 is about traveling. So 4 is we're on our way from one thing to the other. All right. Remember, we've got this 4. If you're brand new to us, what we do is we teach people how to read the Bible by using a specific code. And I don't know if you're in there or not because I've turned you off. But we get the 4 elements. The 4 is what it comes down to all the time. When it comes down to when you see these 4s, they're talking about this. It's traveling. They were in the desert for 40 days, 40 nights. Excuse me. Or, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And that was bringing the boat from earth up to the top of a mountain. So it took all that walking and all that time to get to this place. All right. So it's a system of, it's a bit of traveling as we're taking ourselves from the Western way of thinking, which is just our mind all by itself, to thinking of the Eastern way where we've connected to God and counsel. And that's very interesting about this. you're gaining counsel here whenever we do this, when we honor mother and father correctly. So real quickly now, and these are not long scriptures, so we can go through this. So the first one's just like this. One is our intellect. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and say unto him, Abraham, he said, behold, here I am. Abraham, here I am. And then this one here, this is the Kundalini. This is usually the mountain, something to do with getting higher or lower. This is the moon and in water. So this is our movement upwards and downwards right here, this place right in here. Okay, and that's our heart and our emotions. That's what's in the north of our, that's what's in the second phase here. And he said, take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will tell thee. So here's your mountain. So he's going to tell him to go here, and this is where this information is coming to him from. This is generally the body, the lower, the land, the nations, the brethren, the congregation, the vessel, the body. That's what S is representing. Stars, the people. This is you people. This is the fleshy side of us. All right. And Abraham rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offerings. That clave the wood for the burnt. They split the wood for the clay, and we are wood. We are actually wood. So they split this. Abraham rose. This is our body. This is the tree. So we also got that part. I didn't tell you that, but we're trees. So he clave the wood for the burnt offering. And they went to the place where God had told them. Next one over here. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the place far off. This is where they're going, to this high mountain. All right, 5. And Abraham said unto the young men, abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. All right, so this is showing you that stay down here at the bottom of the mountain, stay here, but we'll be back. All right, but we'll be back, because that's how it works. Nobody dies in this reality. And then we got 6, the chakra. The 6 is the works. 6. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife. And they went both of them together. This is when they started climbing the mountain. They left the ass and his buddies behind at the bottom of the mountain. They have cleaved the wood for the offering. That means they've split. Now they're on their own. They've got the ass, and the 2 men are back here. They have gone into meditation, and they're on their way up the hill, or up the mountain. 7. And Isaac spake. This is the body part here. It says, and Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, my father. And he said, here I am, I, my son. And he said, behold the fire, behold the fire and the wood, but there is no lamb for the burnt offering. This is usually the lamb. This is the Lamb of God. This is you going in here. Where's the lamb that's going to be sacrificed? Well, he doesn't know it, but that's him. And of course we know that from the outside story. In 8, over here at the end, we get, and Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. This is 8. 8 is a control number. Now listen how it said that. God And he doesn't know anything himself. So his father just told him that he was going to take his son up there, and he doesn't know anything else. But he was told to take his son up there and offer it as a burnt offering. So he's going up there to kill his son. And what does he say when his son asks him, where is this calf? All right, where is this lamb? And he says that God will provide himself a lamb. Now I'm going to slow that down again. God will provide himself a lamb. That means you will provide yourself a lamb, and that lamb is you letting that baby go, letting that child of yours go, letting that lamb loose, letting that kid go outside of the tent to take care of things. That's the whole idea behind these stories, to let that guy out so he can go do his bidding. All right, now let's start again. The new world. It said, and they came to the place which God told them of. This is his first one. And Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took a knife to slay his son. This is what it means, all right? He was asked to kill his son, and he's going to do what God says because of the fear of God. And the angel of the Lord called on him to heaven and out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am. Must have stopped him killing this kid. And he said, lay not thy hand upon thy lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, by thy only son, from me. Talking to you earlier, that's what he wants, is those sons. He does not want you to hold them back. Let my sons come home to me. Let the children come to me. That's what it means. Not the real children in the real world. It's his children. His child is what the soul is inside of us. He wants you to send this guy back home. And when you do that, something beautiful is going to happen. But he says you won't do this. You won't gain your son until, of course, you gain some fear of God. So here we are, Abraham. He's got the fear of God in him. But let's give him a test. That's what this is about. Let's test him. Say, send your kid up here, and I want you to kill him for my sake. I'll go and do what God says. That's the fear of God. So Abraham lifted up his eyes. This is on 13. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and beheld behind him a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering instead of his son. It's perfect. And Abraham called the name of the place something or another, as it was said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. This is in the mount of the Lord. This is inside of us. This is the Kundalini part. This is inside the shady place, the shadows, the valley, in between the high place and the low place. This is where this place is. This is the midst. This is the only place that we have this going up and down. So he's claimed this place as a beautiful place, and this is how we go and find God. And it's always been, even to this day, ready for you anytime that you're going to go on to a bigger and brighter future and trying to help out the world by bringing some light into it. Let's see here, we have, and the angel of the Lord called to Abraham out of heaven for the second time. So he's talking to Abraham out of heaven for the second time. 13, okay. And said, by myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, For because thou hast done this thing, which is to go within inside yourself, because thou hast done this thing and thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, that in blessing I will bless thee and will multiply thee and multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and upon the seed shall possess the gate of all his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young men. He's come down from the mountain. He's come back to himself. And Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt in Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told to Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor. This is the last one. And there's also just one more set of worlds, starting with 21. And what we'll get is we get all these names. There's a mess of names. And I decided to go about it. Like that last one was Milcah. That's a girl. That's a woman. And her name means queen or counsel. When we hook up with God, he says, you rebuke my counsel when we don't go up. It's one of the things that you don't go to be corrected and or rebuked. And that means to be corrected. And the other part would be that you also you turn down his counsel. So when you're turning down the counsel, you're turning down going in, doing all this business. This is a person without God is in the situation. So what we have is we have that lady Milcah, and she bore children unto the brother Nahor. Nahor means horse, dry, and hot. And this is beautiful, because what happens is that actually represents the land. Let's pull all the water up and let the land appear. That's happens on that particular part of the world. And so it's representing the land. And the land, when you're a landlubber in these situations, there's no water. You're always looking for. When you're thirsty as hell all the time, and it's dry, and you don't get any rest, and all this mess. That's representing Nahor, his brother. And later on, you'll find that there's a funny little talk. I'm sure that it used to be a joke about you don't go screw around with your neighbor's wife, because what that does is it brings you down. And I think we may be getting into some of that stuff just a little future, but it takes away this God thing from us. But at the same time, this idea is, Nahor would be the name, the word, the brother's name. But we also hear later on that the name Nabor, don't get your neighbor's wife. So I'm pretty sure it's a nice play on this. So this is talking about Nabor. He is representing the left side of the brain, and his wife is representing the queen of counsel. All right, and she's representing the right side of the brain. And so in 21 is this part here. This is the intellect. We get a guy named Huz, is the firstborn, and his name means counsel. It also means woods and fastened. We get the name Buzz, is the second brother, and his name Buzz means contempt. Now I'm going to do this because there's 4 buddies in this. This is the first one of these guys. That would be Huz. His second born is Buzz. And Buzz is actually an interesting name for the electrics. An electrical thing. Just as is going to the Sea of Galilee. Galilee, that word means circuit. So it's an electrical, these things that have electrical circuits. So Buzz is brother. This is our Kundalini. That's an electrical system. All right. All right. And it means contempt. So it means it's not really, it's on the outside things, because that takes on that Sarai, not Sarah, but Sarai. Her name means contempt. And that's where her name would show up in this female side when she doesn't have the breath of God. All right. Now we have this name Kimul. It means God hath raised up. That's this side right here. This is our body, our physical side. And this is where Kimul is located. And it's called God hath raised up or established. All right. And then we get the father of Aaron. Father of a multitude. Aaron, A-R-A-N, means father of a multitude. So these are all these businesses, but they're all representing number 21. Now let's try again. Let's go. And 22 is this part here. This should have some interesting conversation in here. It's only words, I mean names. We have this guy named Chesed, Chesed. You know, his name means the goodness of the Lord. We get a name called Haz, H-A-Z, Hazo or something like that. Is that what we got? H-A-Z-O, yes. And it means seeing or prophesizing. We get Philadesh, and it says lamp of fire. That would be beautiful. That's something that's cool that fits in that spot. Some guy named the name of Jidlaph, and it means he weeps or he will weep. This is when you're getting born and suck. And a last one, and this one is Bethuel, and you're getting 5 out of this. All right. Bethuel. Bethuel means affiliation with God. All right. So that's really good. See, if you're affiliated with God, this is a really good place to be in, right in here, because that means you're open to this. But that the beginning of this is saying, you know, that the contempt business, I would think about that one before. All right, let's see what else we have here. Number 23 is this one here, our body part. It says, and Bethuel begat Rebekah. Rebekah, so that means that this person that has an affiliation with the Lord, that Bethuel, begets Rebekah. These 8 did bear Nabor's and Abraham's brother. All right. Now, Rebekah means captivation, knotted cord. That's what this is. They're talking about our body. They're talking about, oh my goodness. Later on, you're going to be seeing that they wove our bodies together like some kind of a bunch of curtains, and they drape it down the back of us, and they drape it down the front. But you'll see that they're actually building us. They're building these in symbolic reasons. They're making us all into these. We're all these different knots, and even the birth of Jesus being in swaddling clothes. So they're talking about our body being the garment. And so with that being the garment, it's knotted up, and it's like they're really talking about our spirit too, but it's inside and not the out. It's inside these clothings that keep you from being able to move. You're stuck inside. That's what happens when you're in swaddling clothes. It's not a, oh look, it's a baby and it's laying in swaddling clothes. and lying in the manger. It means that bitch has been tied up and bound to unable to move, not able to move its arms and its legs or nothing. Everything is like in a cocoon. That's what a swaddling clothes are. Okay. So, anyways, we still have the last world to deal with, and that's down here at the end, and usually it tells us all kinds of things. But here we have a concubine comes into this particular spot, and concubine is not a good thing. It winds up being that what comes from the bonded side, or someone that's under some kind of control other than their own, because they are slaves. So here he has this concubine who's also his, someone that he screws around with. All right. So this one brings about Ruma, whatever. We can just say that's the first name on this. That's the lady's name. The concubine's name is Ruma. And that means lofty and sublime. So that means she's been held higher than many things. All right. Just something beautiful. And she bears a child by the name of Teba, Gahem, Santabump, and something another. So these are 4. So let's listen to this. She bare Teba. And Teba is our conscious. Teba means to slaughter. All right. We got to kill this. And we have here, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, well, let's see how it works. Slaughter, I think, means to kill. This means you're dead here, your mind, because this is thou shalt not kill. And this is one of the ideas that when you're not connected to God, you've just killed your child. You've killed yourself. You're running around dead. You're a dead man. That's what that means, to not be connected to God. You're a dead man. All right, so here we go. We have this Teba, to slaughter. So we will be dead because of our conscience. Let's see what else happens. The second name is Graham. That means our home. This means a gravel homestead. Well, gravel. Not so sure what we're doing here, but this is where the rock would be. This is where we would find a highway or something that would make it in here. So instead, what we have is a gravel pit or a gravel highway or gravel place. Maybe it's just not comfortable. All right. This over here is this third. The third name is Thashash. Thashash. It means to hurry. It means to hurry. So this is the body. You always find these. Let's hasten. They hasten to eat. This is usually in this spot too, because it's the body that we're consuming in the burnt offerings. But this is generally along the lines of you got to hurry up, hasten. Like later on when we're having the Passover meal, and they have to eat it fast. They can't leave no piece of it behind, but they got to do it quickly. You'll see as we move through those things. They say they hasten to get this done, and it always shows up at this part in our what do we call it? With conversion, our new mind coming about. And on the fourth one down here, we get Maksha. I don't know how to say his name, but it means to be pressed down, to warn, and to fasten. It means to squeezer, the pusher, the oppressor. All right, so this did not line up too good down here, but this idea maybe learning God's love, God, the fear of God. Maybe this has to do with this oppressing business. But I'm thinking that his concubine. We're talking about the left side of our mind. We're talking about that he has this affiliation with this left side of the brain that brings about this to him, which is death to his brother. That is actually, representing the outside of the body. You see, Abraham and his wife in these stories, Abraham is, and we'll throw his wife in, but we know that they are all one, and as well as Ishmael and not Ishmael, Isaac, all these names in my mind, that they are all representing one person. They're representing Abraham. And so there aren't three people there. There's just one. And it looks like everybody's got their comeuppance. Everybody got what they was wanting from this. But when it comes down to his brother, you know, you don't, you know, unless they're all together and they're still together as one. But I think this is kind of a little bit of a separation. And it shows that, no, his brother doesn't have the connection. And we don't go fucking around with Nabor's wife. All right. So anyway, let's see how we can work that joke in later on. All right. But right now, that was the famous kill your son for me. And what you'll find that, no, he's not going to kill his son. That's what most people are under right now as we live our lives unconnected to God without our son. And that's considered killing your son and not sending him to God. He wants you to send, he says, this is the whole idea. Kill your son for me. Sacrifice your firstborn for me. And that just means sit down and meditate. Bring this child to let this child free to come meet his mom and dad. That's all it is. And he washes our sins away just for doing that. That's the works. All right, well, that's it for tonight. I'm not going to do anything else. I had a great class yesterday. I'm so glad to be back to painting and teaching and teaching back with you guys too. I'm never going to give this up, right? Not till we totally consume the Bible. All right. All right. So I love you guys. I'll see you later. Welcome any new people that come in. There's plenty of conversation about in these old videos. I've got hundreds of videos that can help answer questions. I've been, if you can't recognize through the videos that I have been changing through time. I've only been bitten by this bug really within the last 6 or 8 months, but I've been working towards this for at least 4 or 5 years or something like that. And I'm just absolutely flabbergasted at how simple and easy it's becoming to be able to teach it and to show you what these things mean in our Bible, aside from the parable, what it means, and the allegory, what these things actually mean. All right? I love you guys, and thanks a bunch for taking time out and sharing it with me. All right? Chat with you tomorrow.